All right, welcome in, everyone. Welcome to episode number 5 of Wilson Live. We are excited to spend some time this morning talking about kindergarten. I am a kindergarten parent, ready to learn all of the things that I probably should have known as an adult already, but we're working through it. Excited to spend some time with Christen, Marcella, and Cathy, learning all about kindergarten. So with us today, we have Christen Jones.
Hello, thank you.
Christen, tell us a little bit about your role now, and then talk a little bit about how you got here.
Yeah, so born and raised Mount Juliet, Tennessee. I've been in the county for 19 years, so I work alongside Amy Barger in the Family Resource Center as the parent educator. So we just help parents facilitate and reach their goals. So that's our primary purpose here. But kindergarten is my background. Love kindergarten, did kindergarten for 18 years.
Where did you teach?
Taught at Gladeville Elementary.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And then also with us, Marcella Gaglione.
You got it right.
Listen, I'm trying.
I'm impressed.
I promise, I'm working hard. Marcella, tell us a little bit about Marcella.
So I teach kindergarten at Rutland Elementary. This is my 5th year teaching. I actually student taught at Rutland Elementary in 1st grade and then got hired immediately after that, and I absolutely love it there. But kindergarten is my passion. I didn't realize that it would be when I first started teaching kindergarten. I was like, oh, I don't know about kindergarten, but I have just fallen in love with it, and it is so fun to teach. So yeah, well, I'm enjoying it.
We're excited you're here. We're excited to see some of that passion this morning. Cathy, welcome on. I know you were a little excited to be here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cathy Burchett. I'm the elementary coordinator here in Wilson County. Actually, the bulk of my classroom experience is in kindergarten. So I have a forever heart for kindergarten teachers and those little kindergarten students we have here in Wilson County.
Where did you teach?
So most of my classroom experience was in metro schools, and then I came out here as a district instructional coach and now elementary coordinator.
That's exciting.
So I work with all things curriculum implementation to support our teachers.
Yeah. So just so the two of you know, I'm Carter Noblin. I spent 9 years at Wilson Central High School as one of the band directors. So this is a pretty polar conversation from what I'm used to. High school to kindergarten, there are some connections there. Some of the smells are very similar.
Absolutely.
But it's a very new place for me. And I think one thing that makes it really unique for me is I am a parent of a kindergartner. My daughter Mia started kindergarten, are we 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in? It's September.
I don't even
That's
know.
the crazy
I
part.
think we're more than that.
We've lost count.
4 weeks,
we made
5
it past
weeks.
August, and I feel like that's really what matters.
Yes.
Yeah, and as a parent, I'm feeling that very much right now. So I'm excited to hear a little bit about what a kindergarten teacher wants me as a parent to know. Hopefully we can use this episode as a tool to share with our parents, to share with our teachers, to give some insight into exactly that, what a kindergarten teacher really wants their families to know, wants their students to know, wants their community to know, because kindergarten's a pretty unique time. You know, if this is your first child, me, I haven't been to kindergarten in a long time, and kindergarten has changed a whole lot. Yeah. And I'm not going to brag about myself, but I do want to point out I skipped kindergarten.
Oh,
I know.
You really don't know what kindergarten is.
I have no clue. I moved from Memphis to New York right before the start of kindergarten, and something about what I had learned in Tennessee really overlapped with the curriculum in New York, and I got to move right on to 1st grade and have been terrified ever since. So, but really excited to spend a few minutes talking about kindergarten this morning. Really excited to learn how to better support my daughter, better support my daughter's teacher, and figure out what a lot of that looks like. So let's get rolling. Kindergarten.
How many times will we say the word kindergarten during this podcast?
I hope too many. And at some point, I'll get tired of saying kindergarten, and I'll just say kinder, and then we'll just move to K.
Maybe let's go for 100, because the 100th day is very special.
It is very special.
It is.
Christen, do you have any 100th day memories, tradition?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, so one year we decided to decorate T-shirts, 100 items for 100 days.
Oh, bless.
That started out great. By the end of the day, our room looked like we had a party, and there was confetti everywhere. Googly eyes, pom-poms, stickers.
Buttons.
Yes, it ended up I think they walked home with maybe 10 items on their shirt by the end of the day, but they loved it. So that was always a fun tradition. And yeah, that was my favorite.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. We'll come back to 100th Day in a little while.
Yeah.
I want to talk more about that. So Marcella, as a parent of a kindergartner, what is a way that I can best be involved in my child's education?
So I think when it comes to kindergarten, this is one of the most important years to get involved because it's foundational for them, but it's also foundational for the parent experience of school and what that's going to look like and what those expectations are. I think anytime that you can take the opportunity to be involved in any event or something that's happening with the school, take up on that opportunity if it is within your capacity to be able to do so. Try and be involved in your student's classroom. Volunteer to help your child's teacher, being able to just kind of be in and out of the classroom to see kind of some of the things that are going on and check that folder and see what they're coming home with, just so you can kind of be an active participant in what it is that your child is learning and trying to be involved in that way.
Yeah, and that's been an adjustment for us is checking that folder every afternoon, trying
And
to figure
listen,
out.
I know there's a lot of things that come home in that folder, and it's easy to want to throw some of them away. I tell parents that I'm like, listen, I know you're not going to keep everything that I sent home, but try to at least look through that and go over some of those things with your child just to reinforce what it is that we are talking about in school, and building on those practices when you get home.
Well, and that reinforcement's huge.
Right.
As long as a school day might feel to a kindergartner, they're home more.
Right.
And that reinforcement just
Right.
helps to set them up to be more successful.
Absolutely.
And that's not just true in kindergarten. That's K-12.
True in every grade, yeah.
That's probably the rest of our life. If we can
Right.
reinforce what we did during the day, once we get home, there's some big gains there.
Yeah.
Christen, what did that look like in your classroom? What were some things that parents did that really stood out to you?
So for me, the biggest thing is really working with the parents to set up a schedule with their children and practice that routine.
Mm-hmm.
So what does a day look like in the morning before school, and what does a day look like in the afternoon? So helping them understand that they have a backpack and that is their little responsibility. As a teacher, we really want them to form that independence. So letting the parents know it's okay to let them pack that backpack or put that folder in there upside down. As long as they're doing it, it may not be nice and neat, and their folder may come home as very messy with paper sticking out of it. But that's a form of independence. We need them to have that self-regulation and be able to do those things on their own. So when your kiddo's coming home and they're excited, always ask them, hey, what are the things you're supposed to show me in the afternoon? Do you remember you have something really important you're supposed to bring to me? So they can bring you that folder. And then something else, just reminding the parents that it's okay in the afternoons for them to have that little bit of downtime. And we always say bedtime is really important in kindergarten, making sure they're getting to bed at a good time, they're getting that sleep, because when they come in the morning, we want them ready to learn. That's the most important part of our day, is that early morning piece. So just working on getting a schedule and a routine as a family is really important.
Cathy, you joked earlier that we were going to say kindergarten 100 times. As I was working through this, I thought we were going to say independence 100 times.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about some ways that we might start to develop that independence.
Yeah, so I always tell my husband that I feel like I'm Elsa at home because I just need to let everything go, because I'm one of those parents that if it's not perfect in the backpack, I struggle with that. And so that is an adjustment as a parent. And so we just really have to make sure, just like Christen just said, we've just got to make sure that we build those procedures at home to prioritize the things that are important. And you know, that is ultimately is school at this phase in our lives as parents. And so those bedtimes, those routines, getting them to school on time, scheduling those appointments when they're not interfering with the school day, although that is challenging.
Yeah.
But any opportunity a parent can do that to support the school and to support the teacher, just so you know, their kid has the best opportunity to learn.
Yeah, and my daughter kind of has the best and worst of both worlds. As I'm an educator, my wife is also an educator. My wife is a first grade teacher, and so she doesn't really get to escape school very often. But one of those independence things that we're really working through right now is that morning time. Is as we're getting ready in the morning. That's an adjustment that we had some fun with this morning. You know, I have a picky daughter who really cares about what she's wearing, and we're trying to help her develop some independence in something that seems a little simple, but it's a task that she needs to be able to manage.
Right.
For the first chunk of her life, it was, here are the clothes you're going to wear, get dressed,
Right.
or we're going to get you dressed, let's go. Now I have to struggle a little bit and have some patience as she puts on 4 different outfits and hates the first 3.
And they probably don't match.
Not
Right.
even close.
Do it the night before.
Right.
We tried that, and we would get to the next morning and go, no, I don't like that anymore, Dad.
Right.
But we're working through it.
Yeah.
It's a struggle, but it's to steal a term from somebody else in this building, it's a desired struggle.
Right.
Right.
It's something that we want to have to work through. It's not always going to be this much of a fight. Maybe it will be again when we're a teenager.
Yeah.
And
I think it's really easy for a lot of times because we're in a rush. We live in such a fast-paced world. We're in a rush to get things done and get our kids out the door and where they need to be. But if at all possible, instilling in your children that independence builds confidence.
Right.
And so when they are able to do some of those things on their own, whether it looks messier than you want it to be, they feel confident in themselves and empowered that they can do it, and they can. That way, when they get to school and they're expected to be able to take care of things on their own and be responsible for their own things, they're going to know exactly what it is that they need to do. So instilling that at home really helps us out at school too, because in a classroom of however many kids are in your room, a teacher doesn't always have time to be able to be like, oh, I'm going to go zip up that backpack. I do not always have time for things like that. Sure. So that independence really is going to build their confidence to be empowered to do that.
Yeah. So as we were preparing for the first day of school, one thing that I've not had to do since daycare was pick up and drop off. And
yes.
drop off and pick up at daycare is very different. It's let's get out of the car, I'm holding your hand, we're going in.
Yeah.
What are some things, Marcella, that you want parents to know about that pick up and drop off time? What are some things that they need to be aware of? What are some things that are just new to that process for a kindergarten parent?
I think one of the easiest ways for me to be able to describe how to go about pick up and drop off is keep it short and sweet.
Yeah.
Yep.
The longer that you drag some of those things out, the more difficult it becomes for the children to be able to adjust to being in the classroom, being away from parents, especially at the beginning of the year when, they're still building that confidence to come into school independently, but trying to make sure that they are prepared and used to that routine or get adjusted to the routine of being able to do things on their own and coming into school. And as a person who has worked car duty and called the names on car line for the past 3 years, keep it short and sweet.
Right.
Help them be able to get into the car. Help them to be able to buckle themselves independently so they can move quickly, and being able to open and shut the door themselves. Just random things like that you wouldn't probably think of because it's so second nature for a parent to just step in and do it. But being able to help them build that independence there helps a lot too.
Right.
But keeping it as short and sweet as possible so they can get started with their day and end their day.
And piggybacking off of that a little bit, making sure they have everything already in their backpack.
Right.
Ready to go, or shoes on our feet. That's really helpful because sometimes they kick them off when they get in those car seats. So making sure they have everything in their backpack ready to go. And like she said, knowing where they need to walk. So maybe going to school, the week before
Beforehand.
school
Yep.
starts and showing them this is where we're going to drive every day and practicing that because we know kindergarten, they need that routine.
Repetition.
They need that practice.
Yeah, and we have phase-in days.
Yes.
But that's just a small glimpse.
It's so
and that's
small.
just a quick opportunity for them to practice what that looks like. Christen, I really like that idea of going to that school parking lot
Right.
and
Right.
actually practicing that.
Right.
That's going to sound goofy, but if it can help make your morning or your afternoon a little bit more smooth,
Right.
that goes a long way. What about what should a parent think about in terms of their booster seat, their car seat? Is there a specific place in the car it should be? Are there any thoughts on how to manipulate that?
Well, for me, knowing, because every school is different, knowing which side of the car they're going to be
Right.
getting out of, the first day you go, like you said, during phase-in, you may see, they need to exit from the right side of the car, and trusting in those teachers that are out there doing car duty, because a lot of parents, it's hard for them not to want to park that car and get out and help their children get out of the
Right.
car. But those teachers are really great knowing that maybe we need to open the door for them. They can unbuckle them or get them out of the car seat, but those students can be ready. And like she said, working on pushing that button is so hard in those car seats. So practicing that could help the teachers a ton.
Yeah, our first phase in day, I went and picked, my daughter's name is Mia. I went and picked Mia up, and I was at the back of the line, like I think I was at spot number 6 or 7, whatever it was, and I had to lean back to buckle her in, and then I look up, and there's this army of teachers going,
Come on.
come on, Dad, let's roll.
Yeah.
And that's an adjustment, and that's
Right.
something that we continue to work on. Again, we're building independence through
Right.
some of that. Something else I think is important is the cell phone. It is really easy in 2025 for us to get stuck in a phone call, for us to get stuck in whatever podcast we're listening to. Hopefully it's Wilson Live, episode number 5.
Correct.
But that's a school. That school is a cell phone free zone.
Right.
And as soon as we hit that school zone, that cell phone really needs to not be a distraction. There's so many kids. Our schools are very populated. Our areas are very populated. I think about a place like Rutland. You're right in the middle of a community.
Right.
And if I'm not paying attention, I'm going to come over that hill and there's like 5 crosswalks right there.
Correct.
And so as a parent, the law is what the law is. Just keep that cell phone away.
Right.
And then as soon as we get through that school zone, we can pick up our phone call and
Well, and student safety too. In the car line, it's a huge priority to keep our students safe, making sure they're getting in the correct car, having their car tag, up and ready.
Right.
And, give our faculty and staff some grace, because if you are missing something, they're probably going to make you pull around to the front of the building. And they're just trying to do their job to keep all of our students safe.
Yeah.
Well, and I like that grace part because every policy and every procedure that's in that is to keep your students safe and to make this as efficient of a process as possible. Getting 400, 500, 600, 1,000 kids in a building,
1,400.
1,400 in less than 30 minutes is a lot.
Right.
And we want to make sure that we're doing it safely. So, thanks for talking to some of that, because that was something that I just hadn't really thought about. And then I go to drop her off and I'm going, okay, wait a minute, you've got to do all of this by yourself. So as a parent, what things are in place? What documents exist to let me know what my student is learning? Up to this point, I've either been completely responsible for what my child is consuming, or I've worked really, really closely with a daycare. Christen, what is one of those things that exists to help me as a parent know what my student is going to be learning?
So we're very lucky. We have a Wilson County parent guide that's super helpful, and it answers lots of questions. So at the beginning of the school year, when we're getting ready for parents to kind of understand what kindergarten looks like, that's a resource that we can find on the county page, and I know a lot of teachers get to send it home via Link or Parent Square. And some teachers will print that out and put that in the handbook or in a folder for parents to have access to, just so we know what to expect. Because like you said, it's been a long time since some of us have been to kindergarten, and it's changed. It changes yearly.
It does.
So there are lots of different things, and parents need to familiarize themselves with what's kind of going on in the kindergarten classroom.
Cathy, what in that document, what are some highlights of that document that you want to make sure parents are aware of?
So, ultimately, we just wanted to be transparent with what a kindergartner is expected to know by the end of the school year. And so within this document, not only is it in 3 different languages, it is translated into English, Arabic, and Spanish, but it kind of spotlights those key skills, some key terminology that's in our Tennessee state standards that maybe parents aren't as familiar with it. And it kind of breaks down, what does that actually mean to someone that's not in education like us? And so it's been a great addition just to help with that communication piece with parents. But it ultimately outlines, we do have a standards-based report card in kindergarten only. And so it sets the parameters for that and how students are assessed ultimately on a 1, 2, and 3. 3 meaning they meet the end of the year expectation. And kind of outlines throughout the year how students should be progressing.
Yeah, and I think that's a document that maybe we don't hang on the refrigerator and we study every night, but it's one that, at a lot of those key calendar dates, we want to just remind ourselves of things. That way, again, we can continue continue to help having those conversations at home, so that as those conversations are happening with our 5 and 6 year olds at school, that they're just a little bit more attuned to what's happening. So Marcella, I know that standards, it's a really daunting term for a lot of people. But for me, it was always a nice way to kind of keep things on the road. Talk a little bit about the role that standards play in your classroom.
Well, standards play a role in our entire curriculum, what it is that we teach, what it is that we work on every single day, because these standards are the items and skills that us teachers are expected to teach and instruct on throughout the year. These standards are expectations that the students are supposed to meet by the end of the year as well. And so that report card reflects the standards that it is that we teach. There might be some things that are not exact quote from what the standards are, but those highlight important skills that it is that we teach reflect what we are expected to teach with the Tennessee State academic standards for kindergarten. But those kindergarten standards influence all of the ways and the content that we teach throughout the year in both reading, math, science, social studies, speaking and listening. It highlights all of that.
Well, and Cathy, those are state standards. Those are standards that are set by the Tennessee Department of Education. Once the state sets those standards, how do our teachers know what to teach?
Yeah, so at the district level, we have something called an instructional guide that uses our HQIM, which is our high quality instructional materials, to guide teachers on how to use their curriculum set by the state. And so it just paces everything out by 9 weeks, and you're going to see that correlation when you look at the progress report and the report card that directly correlates with what the teachers are teaching and assessing in the classroom each 9 weeks.
Yeah, and that's super helpful to know. As a parent that might not be involved in education every day, standards can sometimes get a bad reputation just because it's a guiding place, but really it's a tool that supports our teachers and helps to make sure that our kindergartners are paced well throughout the term of a school year. So we've talked a little bit about a report card, and I kind of want to jump around in what we might have initially intended on talking about, but I want to jump to that report card. When does our first report card come out, Cathy?
So I believe the end of the grading period is at right before fall break.
Okay.
So I don't know that exact date off the top of my head. Maybe these ladies do, but it will be shortly after fall break is when that would post. And so when we say that post in Skyward, that's when parents can log into Skyward and access that digital report card.
And it's digital. It's not
and now
paper.
Some schools may elect to send it home.
Yeah.
Our progress report in kindergarten is our only printed thing that we require, but also some kindergarten teachers may just send it electronically. So that's really a school-based decision.
Okay. So talk about some of those numbers that will be on that report card and that progress report. A lot of us are used to letter grades, but we approach that very, very different. Marcella, talk a little bit about what those numbers mean.
So our report card and progress report is based off of a 1, 2, and 3 scale. If you ever see anything that says NA, that just means not assessed. But the 1, 2, 3 follows a progression of what the student should be meeting by the end of the year. So if a 3 is marked on a skill on the report card, that means that they have met the expectation for the end of the year. A level 1 would be below expectations, and then a level 2 would be approaching expectations. So the first thing I can think off of the top of my head, one of the things that's on our progress report that we just sent home was recognizes all capital letters. That's the terminology. If your student did not receive a 3 on that already, that means that they are still working to meet that standard. They might have a 2 on that because they're approaching or they know most of their letters, or they have been able to recognize the letters that have been instructed on so far. But the level 3 would be meeting the expectation for the end of the year, and then level 1 would be below the expectations of what has been instructed on if they are not able to do some of those things and skills.
Yeah, and I think that's really helpful for our parents to be able to interpret. Is I'm not permanently a 2.
Right.
This is a year-long process where I am, the example you used, just because I can't identify all of my capital letters today doesn't mean I won't be able to tomorrow.
Right.
Or a week from now or a month from now,
it's
whatever
a
that looks like.
progression, and it's kind of a stair step. So that's kind of an important visual for parents to think about, and that's even in the report card guide when it kind of explains that, just showing that it is a visual expectation for the end of the year, and it progresses. It's linear. It doesn't have to be,
So we tell our
you
parents,
get a 2 and you always get a 2. That's not how it works.
yeah, we tell our parents not to panic about a 2. I mean, that
Right.
means that they have basically met what has been taught to them at that time.
Right.
They just haven't reached the end of the year expectation, but we've got all year. to
Yeah.
get
Which
there.
is totally fine.
It's a
I don't
long year.
expect you to know what I need you to know in April.
But there could be sometimes that a student might get a 2 on something in the first 9 weeks, and then they drop back to a 1. And
Yep.
so at that point, as the parent, you would want to reflect, talk to your teacher, because now they have, shown that they're not reaching the expectation of the current 9 weeks. So
Right.
Yeah. Christen, what in your 19 years, what are some things about that report card do you think are helpful takeaways for parents?
So I was listening and I was really thinking as a parent, as a teacher, looking at that progress report is very detailed.
Yeah.
And it gives you more information as a parent that I can look at and understand than sometimes that report card. So when we're getting that progress report and you're looking at that information, you can see what they were able to give answers to and what they were still struggling with. So I think they touched on asking those teachers, what can I help them with? What can we work on? That's the most important piece, and making sure that we're collaborating as a team. We do have those parent conferences. And so if you can't meet with your teacher, you can always, schedule a time to have a phone call conference with them, because that's that key component that we need, right? You're looking at the progress report. What do I do with it? Like she said, oh no, we have all these 1s or 2s. That's not a panic moment. I know that's scary when you're looking at it. It's your baby. And so you want to make sure that you're supporting their education. So look at it, kind of see where those areas they're having the most difficult time with, and then come up with a little plan. What can we work on every night? And those teachers have a million tricks in their hats. So what are some ideas? They hate sitting down to work on something. So can you give me some fun activities I can do at home? And I'm sure any kindergarten teacher can just spill out a million different ideas of things they can practice at home.
Well, and I like that you brought up the importance of communicating with that teacher. In Wilson County Schools, we have lots of different ways that you can communicate with a teacher, whether that's email or a phone call. I'll challenge that a phone call is pretty difficult, because what we're asking a teacher to do sometimes, that's not going to happen during a school day. When I've got a classroom of 25 and 6-year-olds, I'm not going to step away to make a phone call unless there's an emergency. But we also have Parent Square, which is formerly known as Remind. Now it's known as Parent Square. It's a messaging app that some of our teachers use. And then we also have Class Dojo that some of our schools take advantage of. Marcella, do you use Class Dojo?
I actually use Parent Square. I've used that for the past 2 years, and out of all of the programs that I've used in the last 5 years, that is my favorite by far, because there has so many different facets to it. It's basically like being able to text back and forth with a parent. There's signups that you can make on there. There's ways that you can volunteer. You can send pictures. You can do all of those kinds of things with permission and stuff like that, of course. But it's really, really easy to access, especially if you're getting the app. You can send the notifications or change the notifications for your preference on how you want to receive them. And on the teacher side, too, it's also helpful that we can see who the messages have been delivered to, if something bounced and we need to try and see if, that number is not right or that email is not right. We can double check some of those things, but it's really easy to communicate through that. And I always tell my parents that school is about a partnership between me, you, and your child. In order for them to be involved in their education and help them progress adequately, it is a partnership with all 3 of us. We all take a role and all play an active role in that education and in their growth. So being sure to communicate and be involved in those ways is really, really helpful for your child.
I like that you talked about how Parent Square has multiple ways to notify.
Yes.
Every time I get a Parent Square, I get an app notification, I get a text message, and I get an email.
Yep.
It's a little annoying in the normal flow of life. But if I'm in a day where I'm in a meeting and I don't have my phone on me and that email pops up, great. If I'm somewhere and the connection is different, I get a text message. It's really helpful that I can get those communication points in a variety of ways.
And as the district, we've really tried to make some cohesion in our parent communication across the grade bands as well. I know I have an elementary student and a middle, and in Parent Square just makes it super easy just to switch back and forth between that school communication. It's all in one place. There's no guesswork.
Yeah, none at all. It's really straightforward. I wish Parent Square had been around like 5 years ago,
Right.
when I was really in the throes of communicating with families, because it's something that I think we really would have taken a lot of advantage of, and I know that teachers are taking advantage of it now.
Mm-hmm.
So our report card, not just numbers, what are some of the items, Christen, that might be listed on that report card?
So some of the ones that get a little trickier are those high frequency words, those CVC words, and then of course phonemic awareness. For parents that haven't been to kindergarten in a long time, those may be a little alarming because they don't know what that means. But on the progress report, it will break down those, like for phonemic awareness, when we're talking about letter identification or letter sound, it breaks each little section down for us, and I'll let them talk a little bit more about each thing with phonemic awareness and high frequency words, because parents kind of need to know those areas.
Yeah, you're right.
Be
And
familiar with it.
I think high frequency word is a phrase that I've heard.
Right.
And it's one that I like to smile and go, yeah, high frequency
I know what
words.
that means.
And,
Yeah.
and then not really know what
But
it
do you
means.
know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as high frequency words are words that most commonly occur in the English language and in text. For kindergarten, there's a list of 46 high frequency words. And I'm so glad that we do 46 instead of what we used to do with 100. Like, it was just really, really hard for the students to meet them. But the 46 is really digestible, I feel like, for these students. And high frequency words, like I said, are words that most commonly occur in the English language. And it's really important for students as they are building reading confidence to be able to recognize, and I say recognize, not memorize, these words in order for them to rapidly recognize them, to take some of the mental focus out of sounding out those words and really focus on more of the words that have meaning and help them to understand the text or the sentence or passage or whatever it is that they're reading as a whole. So for example, some of the top high frequency words that we teach in the first quarter are I, the, and, he, on. Those words occur very frequently in the English language, and so it's important for students to be able to quickly, it doesn't always have to be rapid, that will come with repetition, but to quickly recognize those words. That way they can read them in a sentence and take some of the mental space away from decoding those words, in addition to decoding words that are CVC words or have blends or things like that that have more meaning to whatever it is that they're reading.
You just used another one of those words that I hear a
CVC
lot.
words.
Not
Yes.
that one, decoding.
Decoding. So decoding simply just means to be able to read and sound out a word. So for example, if I were looking at the word cat, in order for me to decode that, I might have to say the sounds to be able to do that. K, at, and then blend that together. So decoding is being able to read, and then encoding is being able to write.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, the fancy teacher language.
The fancy teacher language.
Right.
In
But-
talking about the high frequency words, they're all in that parent guide.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
they can put that on their refrigerator and
Yeah.
mark off the ones, have a little challenge for the kiddos too.
Jokingly, I said, don't put it on your refrigerator. Maybe take that page
They
and
need
put it
that,
on your
yeah.
refrigerator.
We, as far as our team, I know it might be different at different schools, but at Rutland, we send home the sight word list in a colored category. So there's a certain amount of words in each color, and it goes in the red, orange, green, yellow, all of that kind of stuff. And there's an amount of words on each of those lists, and we have a way to be able to track that.
Okay.
And I put them in the students' homework bag, and I normally assess for them on Fridays to see if they're recognizing and writing them, because that's a portion of that as well. So I'll check mark the ones that it is that they know. That way the parent can see when they get that homework bag at home to be able to reinforce what words it is that either they do know, just keep practicing them, or words that they need to work on and continue with that repetition.
Okay, now one of these words I do know. I do know CVC.
Okay. What's CVC?
That's what I was going to bring up next.
Consonant, vowel, consonant.
Very nice.
Okay.
Good job.
I literally asked a friend of mine the other day, I was like, do you know what a CVC word is? And they're like, nope. Well, you are correct. It is a consonant, vowel, consonant word. So consonant, vowel, consonant words are always going to follow that pattern. The first letter is going to be a consonant, second letter is going to be a vowel, and the third letter is going to be a consonant. They're always going to be three-letter words, and the vowel in that word is always going to be a short vowel sound. So a, I, and instead of a long
We should have
vowel
quizzed
sound.
him on that.
Yes.
This
But
is a lot.
it's always going to be a three-letter word that follows that pattern with a short vowel sound. So, for example, cat, dog, lap, mat. All of those words are 3-letter words with a short vowel sound in the middle.
And we call that a closed syllable.
Yes.
So it's that
Yes.
consonant is closing the door on the vowel,
Yes.
and so that's what tells our students that it should be a short sound.
Well, and these are all terms that our parents probably hear a lot,
Right.
And our students probably don't hear them a lot. I can't imagine a lot of our kindergartners are walking in going, "Excuse me, Miss Gallioni, are we going to work on our high frequency words today?"
Right.
But it's terms that, again, as a parent, if we really know what's happening, if we know what these words mean, we can reinforce them at
Right.
home and continue, again, to build that independence. In my classroom, I was really, I felt very strongly about my students knowing why I'm teaching something.
Right.
In a kindergarten classroom, that's a little bit tough because I'm not going to spend an hour explaining to a
Right.
kindergartner why a CVC word is
It's hard
important
for them
know.
to see big picture sometimes too, because they're so young.
But as a parent, if I can connect CVC word to something that's happening in my students' daily life, if I can do that while we're driving, if I
Right.
can do that while we're in the grocery store, there's some pretty powerful positives that
Absolutely.
come out of that. Anything else that's on that
Can we
report card?
test you?
I would
Okay.
love to
Do
be
you want to
tested.
test him on a word and see if he can segment
Okay. I want you to try and segment the sounds in the word bat.
What does segment mean?
Segment means to break apart the individual sounds in a word.
Okay.
Chop
okay.
it out. Chop, chop, chop.
Bat.
Bat.
Okay. So that's BAT, bat. If I'm going to segment it,
Segment the sounds.
the sounds. B, A, T.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. You have the correct letters,
I love that.
the sounds. You have that, what we call the schwa.
The schwa.
At the end of that. You got to
That's a
clip
fun
that
word.
off. Cut it off.
Okay.
The schwa is making the sound at the end of a consonant sound. So you said b
Yep.
and t.
And T.
So the reason I say don't say that is because when a student is learning to write, if they hear b after they have been taught the sound for B and for U, they're
my
going to spell
goodness.
it with BU instead of just B with a B.
I had never considered that.
So you got to cut off the schwa. So it's B, T, D, K, all of those.
But that's going to sound strange. It's so easy for me and
I
my
know.
not true Southern draw to go B,
T. I know it's hard, and that's one thing that for kindergartners especially, hitting that repetition on that, because a lot of times they will come to us with prior knowledge of letter sounds from another school or from at home, and there might be some people that are not instructing on that in that way, but when it goes to the science of reading and actually being able to follow the proper progression for that, clipping off that schwa, like I talk to my kids all the time, I'm like, cut off the schwa. So, and they know what that means. So it just helps with the decoding process, and it also helps with the encoding process, them being able to write a word correctly. So like the word that you just sounded out, bat, when you saying b-a-t, they would probably, as they're writing it, they could write B-U-A-T-U
Yeah.
instead of B-A-T.
That's so right.
Hey, and if you've done that, our kindergarten teachers will break it.
You already
I
know.
believe it.
Yeah,
I
they will
believe it.
give them feedback and
Yes.
fix it.
Yes.
So if I'm gonna cut it, B, A, T.
Yes.
Now, and see, that's a little uncomfortable for
I
me.
know.
Absolutely.
And that's an adjustment. And I think one thing that I've noticed as we've been talking about some of these words, Ms. Gallioni, is you're being very particular in how you're pronouncing them. You're not. There is academic speak, and then there is non-academic speak, and the way you're talking through those words, I think, is really, really important because it's going to help support some of that in what our kids are doing. Because
Absolutely.
I would imagine the majority of our students are probably pretty similar to me. In that I'm not going to think about that length until I go to sound it out when I'm spelling
Right.
it. So that's
Articulation is super, super important when it comes to decoding and encoding. Another term that I feel like always stands out to me that I'll say this without even sometimes thinking about it is phonemic awareness. When I student taught with a lady named Paula Sawinski in first grade at Rutland, she told me, she said, Marcella, phonemic awareness you can do with the lights off. I said, okay, what does that mean? Phonemic awareness is being able to manipulate, add, or substitute sounds in individual words. It comes with rhyming. And the reason that she said that you can do it with the lights off is because you don't have to see anything to be able to show phonemic awareness. It's all about hearing and repeating and saying those things. So, for example, if I asked a student to say the word mat and then change the to b, that word becomes what?
Oh,
Say it again.
Can you repeat the directions?
Mat. change to b.
Bat.
There you go.
Love
you
that.
could have done that with all of these fancy lights off. So
You're right.
It's not about reading the word. That goes in with phonics, but phonemic awareness is being able to hear, add, substitute, manipulate, change those sounds in words.
We've been working on substitutions a lot at home.
Yes.
What was one we did the other day? The word was cupcake, but take away cake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes.
We've been working
Very
on a lot of
nice.
And we
those.
do that in
I love that
integrity.
you're practicing
Yes.
that.
And that's stuff parents can do in the car.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Syllables, practicing syllables,
Yep.
all those phonemic awareness skills. Just ask your teacher, and they can give you some to do in the car. It's super easy.
Well, and I think that's a really unique thing about what you were talking about. You can do them in the dark, but you also don't have to have a piece of paper in front of you.
Right.
I
You
can
can
be
come up with that off the top of your head.
I can be cruising down 109 thinking
Correct.
about it really any of this and helping my kid in the back seat instead of listening to the Bluey playlist for the 4,000th time.
And I mean, we love Louis,
I
but there are some things that sometimes that repetition at school and at home is going to reinforce and make it so much easier for your child to get those things and
and
master those skills.
Christen, you talked about a little bit of that downtime once a student gets home from school. This is a great way for us to
Right.
support them on the way home or on the way to dinner or on the way home from wherever we've been that evening,
Yep.
but then allowing them to have a little bit of that
Right.
downtime.
And it's
still when they
low
get home.
risk. It's not
Oh, sure.
anything that they're like, oh, I have to sit down and work on homework and do a test. You're going to be asking them those questions, and they're not even going to think that it's work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, that's great. We've talked a lot about the report card. Kathy, did we hit it all?
I think so.
I love that.
I hope they feel prepared.
I think so. And
Yeah.
I hope that we can take just this conversation and maybe share it as we share that report card and help to guide some of what our parents are going to see on that report card and help them to understand that this is just a glimpse. This is not a static document. This is a document and a number that's going to shape itself across the entire school year. And I think that's a really beneficial tool for our parents to see is I see where my student is now, and then I'll get to see where they are 9 weeks later, 9 weeks later, and then at the end of the school year, as opposed to this is a closed off view of what happened right now.
right.
Yeah, no, I think that's really cool. So a couple of things before we wrap up. Number one, I need to make sure that we thank our sponsor. A lot of what you all are getting to see today is courtesy of some really, really awesome community partners. This episode is brought to you by Gina and Lena, your trusted real estate team with Caldwell Banker Southern Realty. With over 30 years of combined experience and a background as former educators with Wilson County Schools, Gina and Lena bring unmatched dedication, communication, and care to every client. Whether you're buying, selling, or just exploring your options, they'll guide you with the heart of a teacher and the knowledge of seasoned professionals. When you're ready to make your next move, contact Gina and Lena at Caldwell Banker Southern Realty. And I think I'm correct in saying this. They both have an elementary background here in Wilson
that's
County
exciting.
and are now selling houses. So
Yeah, and Gina and Lena know all about rhyming.
they sure do. They sure do. So before we wrap up, let's talk a couple just more of the light things. Christen, what's the funniest thing a kindergartner has ever said to you?
So it happens every year.
I'm sure.
Every year we always do in my classroom, a share circle where we talk about different things. What do you do at home in the afternoons and just different stuff. And anytime I'd ever got to Miss Jones and I was talking about my home, just the looks on their faces always changed. Wait, you have a house? You go home at night? You don't stay here? They think kindergarten teachers sleep at school. That is our home.
Well, and I think that's true in every grade because I would go to the grocery store and there'd be a student like 2 aisles over going like, excuse me, you don't belong here. What's happening right now?
And it's like they don't realize, oh, Miss Gallioni also has to go to the grocery store. She has to eat.
We do. Every now and then.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
It might be while we're doing something else.
I shop.
Exactly.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That delivery's not coming to the school for us every day.
Right.
Miss Gallioni, what's the funniest thing a kindergartner's ever
Oh my
said to
gosh.
you?
I remember when I first started teaching 5 years ago, I remember somebody telling me, Marcella, you need to keep like a book or a journal of some things that kindergartners come home and say to you because kids, they really do say so many funny things.
Sure.
And so I kind of wish that I had done that. And even like if you're a new teacher who's watching this, just write it down in your notes app. keep a list of some things, share those stories because it just makes for a really fun conversation and reflecting on some good memories. But one of the funniest things actually happened a few weeks ago this year. There's a student in another class who came over to me at recess. I was in recess partners with his teacher, and he came over to me and he calls me Miss Galliones. He doesn't say Miss Galliones. Miss Galliones. And I'm like, okay. He said, so-and-so said this word. And I said, okay, thank you so much for letting me know. So, handled that situation. All of that was taken care of. And then the student comes back up to me that reported it, and he said, Miss Galliones, in kindergarten, we don't say bad words. Those are under appropriate. And I said, you are so correct. We have to be over appropriate. And it just got the whole teacher bench tickled. Just hearing the under appropriate was so funny. So
I love that. I love that. And that's the rule follower in my daughter is working through some of that right now.
Yeah.
And she's really quick to correct just about anybody.
Yeah.
We don't say that here. Oh, you're right, Mia. I'm so sorry. We'll try again. Cool. So what are Cathy, I know our kindergarten, not just our kindergartners, but our elementary schoolers get to go on some field trips throughout the school year. This says required, which I think is the best part. I love that we have to take these trips. Talk a little bit about some of these trips that our elementary school students
so we
take.
get the opportunity to go on field trips around in our community. And so specifically for kindergarten, their required field trip is the Discovery Center. And we say required because we try to protect them for each grade level, so kids aren't going to the same place every year. But they get to go to the Discovery Center in Murfreesboro, and it's a great extension of the Tennessee Science Standards that they're working on in the classroom, and they get to go and participate that and do that in person. But upcoming in their school career, first grade, they get to go to the pumpkin patch. That's always a favorite. And then we have a big event in second grade called Farm Day. And it happens over at the Wilson County Fairgrounds, and it's just a great event. That's one that our kiddos like to look forward to is in second grade. So they have a lot coming up in their school career. That's something that we love to do here in Wilson County. Typically, we do 2 a year, 1 each semester. And so that's what you have to look forward to. So as parents, we really love volunteers and chaperones.
Yes,
We need them.
absolutely. I need them. Yeah, it's especially at the Discovery Center. I mean, it's a big space. And so having as many chaperones as I possibly can makes it so much easier and more fun and more safe for the kids too, just because they get to, progress through the Discovery Center in small groups instead of just being with, like a whole class and all of us trying to keep together. And so it makes it a lot easier when we have a lot of chaperones that help volunteer. So
Yeah, and we talked, Christen, earlier about ways parents can get involved.
absolutely.
That's a great way. And not everybody's work schedule is going to be able to manage that. But if you can map this out well ahead of time, I'm looking forward to taking some trips with my daughter.
Absolutely. And there's always volunteer opportunities behind the scenes that teachers need help with as well. So if you can't be present, but you still want to help in some way, at Parent Square us, let us know, email us, and we can find different ways for you to help in the classroom.
Oh, I can find something for you.
Absolutely.
Tear math pages
We do
out,
not
but-
turn away help in kindergarten.
Absolutely.
The math pages.
Pages.
That's
Oh, the
like,
beloved math pages.
that's a once every couple of weeks evening in our household is let's get all these books out. We're tearing out 3 units of these, and then we're not looking at these for 2 weeks.
Yep,
No,
absolutely.
it's a whole big thing. So before we go, I'm not going to ask all 5 of the questions that we typically ask at the end of our podcast, but I think there is one really, really important one that I would like to ask the 3 of you. I'm going to ask 2, actually. I'm going to ask 2. Christen, what is your favorite cafeteria food?
Oh, goodness. Okay, it's changed over the years, definitely. My favorite one is the Mac Sticks.
Yes.
So they're the giant cheese sticks with marinara sauce. And I'm always that teacher that says, don't judge me because I'd like 2 orders, please.
Yes, please.
Because they give me the kids' portion and I'd like an additional,
Yes, please.
You're a
So they're
grown-up.
It's hard work.
fantastic. Yeah, Mac Sticks.
I love that. Miss Gallione?
I'm going to admit that I've actually never bought a cafeteria lunch.
I
In
love
the
that.
last 5 years, I've never bought one.
You'll have to try the Mac sticks. They're fantastic.
I am a avid leftovers girl. I love to cook, so I am will make enough that I have leftovers for
Sure.
the next day. So I've never purchased anything from the cafeteria, but they do look pretty good.
They're
I
delicious.
know a fan favorite's always pizza too.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
people love the pizza.
Rectangle pizza is the best.
So mine is definitely the chocolate chip cookie at the checkout.
Oh, those are
yes.
great.
So
yeah.
I may talk my daughter into getting two and bringing me one home every once in a while because they're just so good.
Well, and speaking of lunch, I don't want to spend too long on this, but lunch is another thing that's really,
Right.
really important for our kindergartners.
Yeah.
Helping your student to memorize that lunch code if they're purchasing
Absolutely.
lunch every day, that's a big thing. It's
And you
in
can find that on
Skyward.
Skyward. Yep.
Skyward, it's that other ID. It's either 5 or 6 digits. I can't
Five.
remember. 5. That's an easy thing that you can work on in the car when you get home. My daughter's teacher gave us a little print off of a keypad, and we were actually able to
Yep.
practice it on a piece of paper. Super, super helpful. But Ms. Gaglione, what are some other just quick things to keep in mind for lunch?
I think one thing to keep in mind, and every school does certain things with lunch differently, but one thing that I think is universal is that the students are expected to eat independently. There is nobody that's, helping feed them or things like that. We might have, we have cafeteria monitors, and I am so thankful for them. But those cafeteria monitors can assist with opening things, but it is best if your child can be able to do some of those things independently, just so they have enough time to be able to eat the food that you have prepared for them or that they are buying from the cafeteria, keeping in mind that it is a 20 to 25 minute lunch depending on, your school. So it needs to be something that they can eat in that period. We don't want a whole platter full of stuff, and that's great. I love that for you if you want to bring that, but keeping in mind that it is a certain period of time, and they need to be able to eat that in that time.
Well, and lots of choices sometimes
Right,
are
it's
a struggle.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
overwhelming.
We open up that bent go box, and we've
Keep
got
it simple.
We've got a lunch charcuterie board,
Yes,
and we just get
yes,
overwhelmed. So,
yes.
awesome. Well, I'm not going to ask my second question. I thought those answers were great, and I know it's a big day ahead of us, and I want to get everybody back to their day. So, Ms. Jones, Ms. Gaglione, Ms. Burchett, thank you so much for spending some time
you.
Thank you.
on our latest episode of Wilson Live. Excited to get this out and hopefully allow this to be a tool that can help support our teachers and our family.
Right.
So again, I'm Carter Noblin. I'm the District Fine Arts Coordinator. I'm so thankful to be able to spend a few minutes with these wonderful folks and look forward to spending some more time with everyone else on our next episode.